affected both. And it was, I'm not exaggerating, but it was a privilege of a lifetime. Now, we have different styles. And difference was celebrated, not, ostracized. He selected me to be CEO. He didn't select someone like him. I don't think anyone is like him. And I've always felt that Steve was not replaceable. And I still feel like that today. I don't feel like I replaced him. I think when you follow someone, particularly someone that has done a great job, if you have the pleasure of doing that, your role is not to do what they did. It's to be yourself and do what you do, and things that you don't do as well as they do, you want to make sure that the puzzle around you fits. Things that you might be able to do better, you want to find ways to amplify those. And so I think Steve did me an incredible favor in telling me a couple of times toward the end to not ever ask what he would do, to just do what I thought was right. And that was like removing this huge weight. And I have stayed true to that commitment I made to him, that I would not do that. I don't know what the numbers are. It's different for each of us. And, but I think the power is now shifted to the user. And that has been what Apple has always been about, is giving the power from the institution to the user. And I am very hopeful that great things are going to happen from that. I don't subscribe to the machines taking over the world. And I don't worry about that. I worry much more about people thinking like machines than machines thinking like people. And so we're out pushing on things like this. We're out pushing on getting every kid to learn coding. We're out pushing. Do you think
that should be like a requirement?
I do. I think every kid in America, or in the world actually, should learn to code, because I think it's the most important second language you can learn. It's a global language, and there's no such thing in the world. It's the only one. And it's a way to express yourself, whether your passion is in the sciences or the arts. It's a way to express yourself. And I think software is sort of touching our lives everywhere.
Companies, as you know, have abandoned China. How do you think about that?
I think that we have a responsibility as a business to do business in as many places as we can. Because I think business is this huge catalyst. I believe in what Tom Watson said, is world peace through world trade. I have always believed that. And so I think we should be about not pulling up the drawbridge, but we should be about building the bridges. And so I think that's key for business. You know, we interface with every administration, with both political parties. We have always done that. And we will always do that because we think engagement is the right approach, regardless. And I feel that way internationally as well, is that engagement is the right approach.
How much of there is a trade-off to doing it that way?
You know, we don't view it as a trade-off because it's so ingrained in the way we think of things. Like the new iPad and iPad mini have 100% recycled aluminum in there as the enclosure. The antenna of the new iPhone 13 is made from upcycled plastic bottles. It's just the way that our process now works. It's so deeply embedded in the company, it's not a bolt-on. And so we don't have engineering and then another group on the side that worries about environmental. Engineering worries about the environmental impact of the products. And it's not a burden that we feel to do that. It's not a trade-off we feel to do that. It's how we approach it at this point.
Fashion, despite the pressures to be short-term.
You have to have a board and a CEO and a sort of a top-level management team that is willing to put aside the stock price. Because if you're making a decision based on the short-term investors, you're going to be guaranteed to be making terrible decisions. And so this is like number 1, 2, and 3. If you do that, it will set the tone in the organization. And so I look at the investments we make, the big ones, are all multi-year, sometime 5, 7, 10 years out. And so what you have to do as a CEO and the board is you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm going to take the heat. And I'm going to tell my investors, we welcome all of you, but if you're short term, I'd really advise you not to get in, because it's not how we're going to make our decisions.
What kind of positive message can you bring to him or her?
Well, I would start with, I do not see them personally as a lost generation. I reject the characterization. I think young people that I talk with are very values driven. And I see this in the love they have for the planet. I see this in the way they support human rights for all people. I see it in so many different areas. I see it in what they choose to work on. And so what I see are people identifying problems with society and then putting all of themselves into creating a solution for the problem. And I think these young people will be at the very root of many of the solutions to today's problems.